6 knockouts, 2 submissions, 5 decisions. Is Aiemann Zahabi any good? Canada's lists of prospects in the UFC is quite honestly slim pickings these days. It's a bit of a dark age. But it hosts one of the top MMA gyms the sport has ever known, Tristar. They have nearly a dozen gyms all around the world, but run under Firas Zahabi in Montreal, a high-level MMA academy that trained the likes of Georges St-Pierre and Rory MacDonald. 2 Canadian fighters who left a massive mark on the MMA world, but it's been a long time since another Canadian has managed to reach the heights that they have. But today I'd like to bring your attention to Aiemann Zahabi. He just won a rather controversial decision over an aged but capable Jose Aldo, a legendary featherweight fighter from years past. Their fight was incredible to watch. This win puts him on a 6-fight win streak in the bantamweight division, and it appears his career is heading to the top 10. I'm fully aware he's 37 years old, but it's quite clear he doesn't come from your average gym, and he's not running a lot of wear and tear for this age. He fights methodical and intelligent, void of any real swagger on display in all honesty. But he's very effective and primarily uses boxing to find his victories. No complaints with that. And with big names like his brother Firas and cornerman Georges St-Pierre, who's to say how far Aiemann can go? Let's further discuss Aiemann and his ceiling as a competitor. Aiemann Zahabi, a fundamental striker guided by an elite team who values discipline and timing over flair and style. Strike accuracy is 47%, strikes landed per minute is 4.4, strikes absorbed per minute is 4.1. These striking stats leave a bit to be desired and show that Zahabi's fights are quite close. Not just the most recent Aldo fight is indicative of this, but the majority of his fights go close on the numbers. Takedown average 0.1, submission average of 0. Aiemann dukes it out with every opponent, say what you want, but no takedowns attempted against Jose Aldo. He made it a fist fight, and for that we should have a lot of respect for. Takedown accuracy 14%, not happening. Strike defense 70%. Here's an interesting fact. Second highest strike defense in UFC history is Georges St-Pierre, a fellow Tristar athlete. Number 9 is Aiemann Zahabi. Only difference is, GSP would wrestle heavy. Aiemann has the highest active strike defense stat among all active UFC fighters. This is relevant and deserves a broader spotlight, and I didn't even come across this until making this video. Takedown defense 84%, another insanely high defense stat. Knockdown average of 0.4 and an average fight time of 11 minutes and 47 seconds. Strengths are smart boxer, high fight IQ, and a lifelong student. Weaknesses are low urgency and low power. Best performance, outsmarting Javid Basharat. This was a close and strategic battle against the, at the time, undefeated Basharat, who entered the bout a very heavy favorite. Who's a very tricky fighter with a large arsenal of kicks, but Aiemann showcased a few things here that I'm a big fan of. A dynamic guard that changes from high to Philly shell as the fight goes on, great footwork and forward pressure to win the cardio battle, and perfectly timed counters and extended punch combos to close range on the elusive Basharat. He won by unanimous decision, showing he can beat a long-rangey technical opponent at their own game. Most fun, his recent scrap against Jose Aldo. Unlike Mario Bautista, who led a fake narrative that he would go to war with Aldo and engage in a striking match, Aiemann Zahabi was a man of his word and shot no takedowns and out-cardioed Aldo, albeit an old and decrepit version. But what's most impressive about his durability as he was wobbled with a knee and then promptly soccer kicked in the face twice, miraculously, he wasn't knocked unconscious and stayed mobile as Aldo hunted for a desperate finish. One that he could not find. Aiemann got back on the volume and ended the fight decisively. There's some controversy over who secured which rounds, but I don't take issue with the final decision. Aiemann landed far more strikes and had far better body language and showed no visible damage. MMA scoring will never be concrete, and the sooner you accept that, the more you will start to appreciate the sport for what it is. Just remember, when war arrives, appreciate that it happened and move on. Against Pedro Munoz, a disciplined performance as he moved up the ranks and fought a top 15 veteran. This was the turning point for Aiemann Zahabi as he cranked up the volume of his boxing. He landed 30 plus strikes a round against Pedro Munoz. Ricardo Ramos knocked him out brutally nearing the end of the third round back in 2017. It was a spinning elbow as Zahabi rushed in as he saw Ramos starting to fade, so he tried to put a stamp on his performance. Ramos made an excellent read to counter this aggression and took Aieman's undefeated record with a spinning elbow. He would then take years off to rebuild himself and would also go on to lose his next fight against Vince Morales, where he was never put in any danger but was just super gun-shy and low volume. He put up a depressing 28 landed strikes to Morales, whereas today he's landing nearly 100 plus against Jose Aldo. Adjustments were clearly made after these two losses, and he's finally found his groove. Aiemann Zahabi is a very strategic fighter who his brother Firas has quite clearly helped to develop from the ground up through many, many years of fight training at Tristar. He's a respectful gentleman that understands the level of risk in this sport greatly. He is very much a martial artist and not a meathead fighter looking for some coin. So he remains ultra composed, sporting the highest strike defense stat amongst the entire roster. And at his core, he's a pure boxer, which should connect with the new fan watching to see a knockout, or a devout MMA hardcore who appreciates the technical aspects, like cardio management and footwork. I'll give Aiemann Zahabi B tier, but on his way to punching up a rank, we need to factor in where UFC fighters get their training in, and Aiemann clocks in and out of Tristar, one of the best in the world. As always, thank you guys for watching. Drop your favorite Ariel Helwani moment down below. MMA makes no fucking sense, but I'm out here trying to put it all together. Until next time.